Welcome back to Wednesday's trade video, where we go through the 10 most traded players in fantasy football currently. As always, these numbers are pulled from fantasycalc.com. It's a free resource for y'all to go check out if you want to. It's fantasycalc.com/research. And what we do is we go down the board, 10 most traded players, and me and JMO will choose whether or not we buy, sell, or hold a specific player based on what we write on the whiteboard. And the top player on the list, let me tell you, man.
Time.
The top player on the list is none other than Tay-Time. Not Tea-Time, Tay-Time. Davante Adams of the Las Vegas Raiders.
The new Raiders. This is a different Davante. This isn't the same one. It's a whole new Raiders team we're talking about. So based on vibes alone, what's your answer? Stats, no numbers, just energy.
This kind of tough.
Yeah.
This is a tough one out the gate.
It's only tough if you soft.
That's crazy. It's crazy what you just said to me.
Chill.
Bayerstein. You said go off gut. You said go off vibes, go off energy.
Yeah, no, this isn't off vibes. I'm selling them off the vibes. I think that's what people are like feeling. Like, oh, the Raiders got a huge blowout win. Keep Adams.
And what did he do in that one?
Nothing.
Right. So why would people be buying him?
People aren't going
Why
off
would people be doing anything with him?
enough. I don't want him. I think based off that energy, you could sell him for like a still wide receiver one price. But I was looking at my rest of the season rankings. I'm fighting to get him in the top 10 still. Brother's struggling. In 4 of the last 5 games, I think he's gone under 9 points in half PPR. Come on.
Yeah, the production is a little shoddy, but the vibes.
Yeah, that's
Now
all.
diving into the numbers. That's what we do here. It's not what he does, it's what I do. I'm looking at target share, still 30% over game, 29% on Sunday, 30% the week, 27% the week before. Targets per out run still there. I'll tell you what hurts. Catchable target rate, not great. The majority of his targets, not great, but his air yards are still there. Still getting end zone targets. Like, they're all still there. It's just not coming together. One thing I will say, one thing I did notice, his average depth of target. This was one of my concerns coming into the year was like, Rodgers threw it deep. Derek Carr threw it deep. Jimmy G doesn't. And when you take a look at like the average depth of target week after week after week, first month of the season, he was hovering around like 10, 11 yards down the field, 2.7, 13.6, 7.3, a random game of 20.8, 9.8. That's the biggest problem is like he could command targets, but they're not the same valuable targets that they were downfield.
Well, and it's not even Jimmy G. We got Aiden.
It's Big A. It's the Big A.
Is it Big A?
The Big Apple. The savior of the apple. I'm okay with Aiden O'Connell. I think last game they didn't have to do anything.
The Vegas savior.
They didn't need to do anything, and I just don't think it could get much worse than Jimmy G there. I think it probably could get worse, but I don't think Aiden O'Connell's like differentiator. It's not like they're sending out DeVito. You know what I mean?
I agree, but it's like, how many more times can we be like, it can't get that much worse? So like, it's just a little step. Like, it keeps hit after hit.
How many times did we do it for Waddle? This is just second half
He's
Waddle.
different.
This is just second half of the year Waddle.
Waddle was on the come up this season. We were just hoping Tay could stay stagnant. It's different.
I'm buying.
Just agree.
I'm buying. The numbers are still there. Tony Pollard.
We don't even want to talk about who you want him over.
Davante?
I don't even know what you could get him for. You still have to give up a big name, and I don't want that.
So ask me.
I mean, I think it was like 2 weeks ago you said CD or Davante. You still like Tay?
Yeah, no, I'd take CD there now for sure.
But like, I think there's such a huge tier gap after that. Now we're getting into like T. Higgins, Michael Pittman.
I would take Adams over those guys.
Puka. That's a tough one because of Wentz.
Adams over Puka.
All right, Dan.
Tough one because of Wentz. You rank Puka higher now that Wentz is there, right? Rest of the season. Is that a Florida thing too?
No, that's just up.
Yeah,
He sucks. He's so bad.
He sucks. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to say anymore. The dude has a 13% target share on the year. He doesn't make explosive plays.
Juice is gone.
Yeah,
Simply said.
The juice expired.
We want to go off of vibes here. There's none.
Would you? All right, if you go in, the only comparison we can make, you went into your refrigerator and you pulled out a gallon of milk and it said expired in September. Are you taking a sip out of that? No, you're just throwing it out.
Yeah.
Are we putting them on the wire?
Get whatever you can.
Would you trade Tony Pollard for, who would you rather have rest of the season, Gus Edwards or Tony Pollard?
Pollard. I'm not that far.
Okay.
I'm not a big Gus guy.
Okay.
You're about to find out at the end.
Wanted to see how much of a liar you were.
Yeah.
You held steady. The one thing I will say is like Dallas's offense looks so good right now. They're passing the ball at an insane rate, which I love.
CD's eating.
I love it. Jakey baby. It's not going to transfer over to the run game. I think they just ride this wave. It's what's putting up points for the offense. It plays to the strengths of their offense.
He's on a little too extra of a non-touchdown streak. I feel like
he's on a legendary bad run.
He should have that's a little.
The problem is he's going to have one touchdown and everyone's going to be like, "Yep, he's back." Yeah. Does he have a touchdown on the year? Does he have one touchdown?
He had 2 in week 1. He hasn't had one since against the Giants.
Dude, he's literally just the Calvin Ridley of running backs. Where it was like he had 2 week 1, big week 1 game, and everyone was like top 3 fantasy player for the rest of the year.
Yeah, but he was drafted at like RB6.
Yeah, realistically, I don't know.
He's not an RB1. We can argue Tace a wide receiver 1. Pollard's not even close.
No, he's not even on that borderline for sure. Not. But like, if you have Pollard, you're kind of forced to. Do you have him anywhere in like redraft leagues?
No,
I don't either. Do you have?
Which is weird because I wanted to get him heading into the year.
He was just so pricey.
Yeah.
At this point, you got to keep starting him though.
Yeah, I mean, because that one game's coming.
Maybe.
I still think
their matchups are good.
I'm not trying to defend him. I don't want him, but I still, like I said, the touchdown streak is just got to turn around a little bit. He's so Joe Mixon, isn't he? So much volume, but
Mixon,
nothing.
Mixon at least could like run guys over. He sucks, but like he'll put his body on the line and he's fat, so it'll work. All right, let's move to another struggling running back. We have Bijan Robinson.
What's he valued at? RB10?
Looks like a single-digit number to me. RB9, I think. I'm not really sure how I can keep defending this stance.
Yeah, hold back / buy.
I mean, the further his value plummets, you have to think that like Arthur Smith eventually.
Arthur Smith is like so hard to defend.
He's such a dickhead.
One thing to like swear like the usage doesn't matter. F them fantasy people, as in us, if you're winning football games. But when you don't use your best players and you lose, that's when it's like, brother, I don't care what your strategy or theory is here. If you're winning, use whoever you want. But right now, not going to fly.
Realistically, his usage hasn't changed at all.
No.
It's been the same all year. He's getting 70% of the snaps, 40 to 45% of the rushes. The biggest problem is he gets no carries near the goal line.
I am fearful that me and you are just hanging on to the hope, like back end, they're going to unlock him, and that just there's a real chance that doesn't happen.
No, we have a big sample size now that Arthur Smith is just fucking ruining him, his rookie year. It's getting scarier by the week.
And it's weird. If you look at his just overall rushing stats, he's like top 10 in rushing yards, I want to say like 3 in targets, and it feels like he could crush those. He's already top 10, top 5 in most running back stats.
It's like everything's going... It's like nothing is breaking right for him. He's the PPR running back 10 right now, which includes that week 7 where he didn't play at all. And that was PPR running back week 52, whatever. But like, there's still a lot of like, he's running all of the routes in 2-minute drills and playing all those snaps, long down and distance 88% of the time. He's got all the things we wanted. It's just not converting.
To see a bigger sample size with Heineke if it changes anything.
Me too. I think Heineke kind of got a bad rap for this week. Like again, you throw him in without Drake London, and you're looking at a receiving core of fucking Damiere Byrd, Kadarius Hodge, dudes that feel like they have made up names.
Bad.
I didn't expect much from Heineke. He obviously had a bad game, but like
I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know their schedule moving forward, but they still got the Saints twice, likely.
Yeah, the Saints.
We talked about how they haven't played them once.
But the Saints week's 18, so he doesn't get it in the fantasy playoffs.
What you gonna do when they come for you?
He's just a straight hold for me.
That's fair.
He's going to be in my lineup for the rest of the year, no matter what, no matter how bad he starts to perform, no matter how many snaps Devon Achane gets.
I don't know. Did you see? I feel like
I think there's room at the table for both of them.
Jeff Wilson's getting like a little bit of the passing game though. For weeks 1 through 7 was averaging 3 targets a game. I think in the past 2 weeks he's got like 2 targets combined.
It was, if you go off averages, yes, but it was more of a product of like 1 or 2 games being really spiked up and to inflate his targets. The last month or so, a little bit lower, but not abnormally low compared to the beginning of the year. If you look at the Miami running back group, he had over 70% of the snaps in week 1 and week 2. Since then, there hasn't been a single running back that's gotten over 70% in a single week. But Devon Achane in week 4 had 66%, which is the next highest number. There just doesn't get to a point, I think, where Achane takes over the backfield completely. He might be the 1A, but I still think like the 1B, like if you told me Jeff Wilson was the 1B going forward to Raheem Mostert, Achane was not in the picture, and you told me like Jeff Wilson was going to get 12 touches a game, I feel pretty good about him. That's kind of how I feel about Mostert with more big playability.
I don't know. I think Achane could take a bigger role. Like, it looked like he was only getting better.
Yeah,
like
sure.
They were getting blown out by the Bills, and the dude still had a random 50-yard touchdown. You could perform in almost any scenario, and this team still has to play the Jets twice. Still got to bye this week, actually, and then Achane will be back. I'm a little hesitant and a couple question marks in there between schedule and the backfield sharing.
That's fair because Mostert does seem to underperform when they play against good run defenses. They just don't run their offense through the ground game when they do that, and that split between multiple backs. I just think he's going to be so involved. Maybe just adjust your expectations. Like Mostert up to this point has been not a league winner, but like he's won you multiple weeks.
For sure.
And you could still just throw him in your flex spot.
He's gotten you to the playoffs or in a great spot to make a run at the playoffs.
Let me ask you this, I guess. Okay, let's say we have, 7 games left, right?
Is he an RB1 the rest of the way still?
Probably not, realistically.
He's probably the hardest one to rank because he has probably the most variables.
Let's say we got 7 games left, right? They got their bye and then maybe 6 or 7 more. Let's say 7. How many of those games do you think he scores double-digit half PPR points?
That's a low bar. I'd say over half.
Yeah.
Maybe 5 of 7.
Yeah. Like that's, to me, a good fucking player that I kind of just want on my flex spot.
I think it's hard for me to accept. If he's going from an RB1, a top 12 back, to all of a sudden a flex play, he's still valuable. I'm just trying to sell him while he still has that RB1 value.
Yeah, I mean,
that's where I'm at.
The thing is, I think like fantasy players are sharp for the most part. Like, I don't think anyone looks at Raheem Mostert right now knowing Achane is coming back and being like, I'm going to sell him for what he's put up to this point.
Agreed. But if there was ever a moment, this is your last shot.
Yeah, that's
this
fair.
Is your last small glimpse of a window to do that.
That's fair. I guess the way I'm looking at Mostert too is like, okay, over the last 7 weeks, assuming Achane is back, who's more likely to put up a 40-point game between them two? Achane. But if you told me one running back had 2 games of 25 touches, I would say it's Mostert over Achane. Like, I think his weekly floor actually might be a little bit, I don't know if floor is the right word because Achane.
Is it weird to say he might be more durable than Achane?
That's what I mean. Like, if there's a back that I feel like McDaniel wants to give touches to at a really high rate for no fucking reason, it feels like it's going to be Mostert.
Yeah.
Like, he might get 18 useless touches.
It just seems like for some magic play, draw it up for Achane, and he'll probably take it to the crib.
Yeah. It kind of feels almost like the Falcons, where it's like Mostert's going to turn into Algier,
comp,
but in a much more enticing situation.
The way you want him to be.
Yeah, exactly.
What you wished Atlanta was in the backfield.
So I still like Mostert, and I feel like he's fine holding on to if you want to. He's not going to move into like dud territory. T. Higley. Yeah, I mean,
we said it last week. You just want any piece of this Bengals offense you could get.
Yeah, he just can't be a sell at this point. It's really, like, if you got him, you kind of keep starting him. He's coming off of like a big game, obviously, and that's always enticing because T does that. But I'm sure there's also dud games along the way.
Oh, they're coming.
You know, so he's a tough one, man. He's one of those guys that you just kind of have to expect volatility given the offense, but their offense looks as good as any offense in the league right now.
They're back to Super Bowl contenders instantly.
I will say
it's them and the Chiefs.
They're in the playoff picture right now.
You know AFC North.
You know what's crazy? So the Chiefs defense is getting a lot of like love, obviously, right? And everyone's like, oh, they're carrying the team or whatever.
The Bengals defense.
The Bengals defense is playing well, but like if you go into the AFC playoffs, dude, the Chiefs defense is not better than most of the AFC teams' offenses are. If you got to go through a playoff run of Cincy as the 7 seed, like an onslaught of like Cincy, Baltimore, whatever. And your defense ain't winning you 3 games.
Well, that is like those two exactly as good as the Chiefs' defenses are. The Ravens have a better defense. They might have the best in the league. And I think the Dolphins' defense is underrated. That pass rush is pretty good. I love the DC and Vic Fangio. As good as their defense is, AFC offenses are balanced as well.
Yeah. The AFC offenses are crazy. So for T, he's a guy that you kind of have to expect to not really know what you're going to expect.
Yeah, you know
there's no rhyme or
reason,
into. Realistically.
But this is just a piece. I want to be invested in this team.
Jamar Chase maybe dealing with a little bit of a little bike injury. I don't know how serious it is.
He had a couple hard falls.
He did. I watched the press game conference, or him getting interviewed at his locker afterwards. He didn't seem to. He wouldn't give any info about it. He was being kind of like shady about it, but he didn't seem.
There's not like a huge injury report or anything on
Nah, he didn't seem concerned about it, so I wouldn't really be concerned about it. But Joe Burrow is just like clearly back to pre-injury health.
Oh, yeah.
And there's arguably just no better, more accurate, smarter quarterback on the field.
5-3, started 1-3. They'll probably lose 2 more games tops, I feel like maybe to the Ravens, maybe to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a tough schedule that it's hard to even say that, but like they're as good as anyone that they're playing.
Beating the Niners and Bills back-to-back weeks, that's enough of a test.
Puka Nacua, number 6 on the most traded players list. He's a buy for me too.
Big Wentz investment. I think it was.
So talk about that.
Someone tweeted out this isn't about Wentz, but like since Kupp came back, I think Kupp has 45 targets, Puka has 44. There's no concern there. I think anyone could put that behind them.
I don't think there are any questions for Puka outside of the questions about Stafford.
What I am concerned though about Stafford isn't just his thumb. Dude's just always got something. Like his hip, his back, something.
He's battling. I feel like there hasn't been that many serious injuries this year. I feel like the thumb is like the thing.
No, but I do see like his fucking waist is wrapped. He's
old. He's an old man.
So it's kind of like your Fitzpatrick that might just come in and sling it, and
yeah,
he's gonna probably lose you the game. That's for damn sure. But fantasy,
what I will say though is like I don't know what the signing means. I think the signing probably maybe Stafford misses another game. I think it says less.
I feel like it's more of a backup role. Like I don't think they're
agreed. I think it's less of like Stafford being
they're on bye
hurt
this week. I think, and he was like borderline gonna play this week.
I think it's less about Stafford and more about McVay seeing last week and saying, I don't care if we're not going to make the playoffs. I'm not playing with this shit again. Mm-hmm. And think back to last year when they signed Baker and they were like a usable team. I think McVay gets the best out of whatever quarterback, whatever offensive situation. He's just got it going on. So
he needs to sleep at night.
That makes me feel better, though, about if Stafford is hurt. You have a guy that may be inaccurate, but I'd rather have him than who even was their starter this weekend? Brett Rippon, yeah. Like, I'd rather have Wentz there. But I think Stafford will be back, and I think they'll be back to what we came to expect.
The fact that he's sitting outside the top 24 is pretty crazy.
It's wild. He strung together kind of like, some bad games.
He's been cold, but still, like he used to be a wide receiver 1. I feel like wide receiver 2 is where he should have fallen. Now that he's in like that flex range, there's
just so much uncertainty around the offense that's scaring people away. And this is the time of the year where it's like you got to kind of scrap for every win, You don't have time to like.
Do you still want Kyren Williams while we're talking about this offense?
Yeah, why not? I don't think like Henderson or Freeman has separated themselves. I think he's got to wait another week though. Still after.
The only reason I'd be concerned about Kyren is like could Wentz get them in even more trouble than they sometimes are.
What do you mean?
I could see Kyren get one less touchdown a game than he would have with Stafford.
Oh
like
yeah,
the offense just won't function as.
But I'm not like buying into the offense based on thinking Wentz is the starter. That's
Fair.
just like making me feel better about a dude like Puka. It should hit the fan. But with Kyren again. If Darrell Henderson was starting to rip off like 16 touches a game, scoring a touchdown, 80 yards from scrimmage, but neither him or Freeman have separated themselves at all. So like I don't really have a concern that when he's back, he's not going to be the guy. It might take him a week to ramp up, and by that time, it's kind of fucking late in the season realistically because you have the bye, one more game I think before he can come back from IR, maybe a ramp up game.
I will say like
weeks fucking
if you're someone that
point.
just owned Puka from the beginning, he might have bought you an extra win where you can need an extra loss right now, and then once playoffs come around, he'll be back to normal.
All right, Olave's back on here.
Oh, my God. Said hold. I don't know, dude. I'm so tired of saying, like, the volume's there and then jack shit doesn't happen. And I don't know if this Saints team really has an identity, which kind of scares me. Their identity is just Taysom Hill when they need him most. But he's wide receiver 18 on the season. Like, that's still pretty not too shabby.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at his numbers, they're really fucking good. I'm looking at his air yard rate. He owns 41% of the Saints' air yards, 42% of their end zone targets.
This is one where the math ain't mathin'.
An ADOT of 13.5. Catchable target rate is at 68.5. This previous week, it was 88%, which is why he had a good game. But other than that, it's been like sub 70 pretty much every week. His target share is 27%. It's all there, but it's not really clicking.
I'm starting to think this is just what we're getting. It's not going to get better or worse. So
it just feels like this is what it is. And like this is what the offense has transformed into under Derek Carr.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it is like Kamara based as well. Like he's such an integral part of the offense. You also
and Taysom.
You start factoring Taysom. Even Juwan Johnson started getting involved last week.
Yeah.
They got a low key a lot of people, and like some shots don't go to Olave because they go to Rashid
Shaheed.
They got a lot of mid options realistically, but they spread it around. They spread it around well. Olave's big games I'm sure are coming, but he kind of feels like more of a headache than an Advil at this point.
I will say that like if you just want to get him off your team to just stop being annoyed, you're still going to get good value out of him, but still being a top 20 wide receiver on the season.
Like, how much more do you have to? How much more do you think you have to give on top of Olave to get DeVonta? A ton?
I don't think you should have to.
Yeah.
But so much name value stuck in DeVonta still. I don't think you'd have. Maybe not. Like Olave and Gus for DeVonta?
That's kind of what I was thinking. I think I would pull trigger on that. I would take DeVonta on that side. I was thinking like maybe a running back like Brian Robinson would put it like right at the point where I'm maybe uncomfortable.
At that point, I'd take I think I'm just against Gus, so that's kind of why it's stinking up the joint for me. But I think that's a fair package as far as value goes.
Okay. Let's move to DeVonta Smith.
Explain yourself. Just kind of like the Bengals, you just want to be part of the Eagles offense?
No, this is way more to do with Dallas Goedert. Now with Goedert out,
That
probably
just
for the
slipped my
foreseeable
mind.
future. Davante's numbers, we have a nice fat sample size based off last year. It's almost
I completely forgot about that.
identical time frame. That dude started eating towards the end of the year without Dallas Goedert. And listen, maybe Davante was a disappointment for the year for the most part. Maybe last week he had a pretty good week, and if you took him a deal or no deal, you'd have won your matchup. Maybe that happened. Maybe it didn't happen. But you still have time to buy him because when Dallas Goedert is out of the lineup, like 8 targets a game, 90 receiving yards a game,
And
like
this,
who else is going to eat
it also
there?
helped out AJ, and he's already having a career year. Like, so you might have changed my mind. I might have forgot about Dallas. Might not have a good reason to sell after all. But past 2 weeks, was it this game where he's like he had the touchdown, but the volume wasn't there?
He was like 3 for 50 and a touchdown or
Yeah.
something like that.
That's kind of why I'm scared. Like, is he a little touchdown reliant? But
It was his lowest target rate game of the entire season. 14% of the targets he saw.
yeah, so you could chalk that up. I mean, tough matchup, division rival. Duds are going to happen. Chalk it up to what you want to be, what you want it to be. But based on those numbers, I didn't love it. But the Goddard point, that's just hard to.
Yeah, it's like such a good offense, and now it's just so funneled to 2 players.
Should we throw Julio on a bye?
Honestly,
They need a big body.
I don't even know. Let me see who's running the routes behind him. Olamide Zacchaeus is playing more than Julio is. Julio's like a 35% guy for now.
Julio's so going to bulk up.
Dude, imagine just peak Julio and A.J. Brown on opposite sides of the field.
Oh, my God.
That'd be so sick.
I think that's what AJ was hoping he'd get in Tennessee, and it just didn't happen.
And then he's trying again in Philly. He's like, no, one more time.
Run it back.
All right. Yeah, so I'm buying Davante. Let's go Kenneth Walker. This is an interesting one. This feels like he's not normally on the list.
No, never. This is Guts' guy. Guts like RB2 in Dynasty. He swears by K9.
I'm finna swear by K9 also.
Just holding.
Yeah, I think I look at one. He's coming off of this game. Seattle played their worst game of the year by far. Got absolutely fucking shithoused by the Ravens.
They're struggling.
They'll bounce back. They play Washington this week, who's got a decimated defensive line, obviously. Getting rid of Chase Young and Montez Sweat.
That shit's cooked.
I also think like it's very easy. All you hear about right now, the narrative is like Charbonnet's outsnapping Kenneth Walker, all that stuff. I still continuously go back to, and maybe this is naive for one reason, but like he had the calf strain right before the game 2 weeks ago, and then all of a sudden his snap count just like shot down. Those two have to be related, but also on the flip side, just to argue against myself a little bit, I guess, Joe Burrow's calf strain lasted a long fucking time. He had 6 weeks of rest, and it still bothered him for about a month.
And this is a position where it's much more demanding.
Yes. So with Kenneth Walker, yeah, maybe I'm being an idiot and saying like, oh, he'll get healthier and healthier. Maybe it'll take another month and a half.
I don't know. Maybe I'm hanging on to this too much. I still put some value on the draft capital they put into Zach Charbonnet.
I mean, he's outsnapped Walker straight up in the last 2 games.
And
He's ran more routes. He's in on all the 2-minute drills. He's in on all the long down and distance snaps. It's not amounting to production, but it's not good for Walker.
I think they still got to play the Niners twice.
Yeah.
Schedule's probably not the easiest. The Rams actually have a decent run defense.
I got to be honest. I think I'm switching my stance here based on just thinking about
I don't think I'm selling, but I'm just going to hang on to what I got.
I think if you could sell Walker for what? He's the RB17 on this?
Oh, for real?
That's crazy. At that point, I'm probably holding. But I guess
Jesus Christ.
the calf is scary. The calf's a little worrisome right now. I feel like fantasy players are bad at learning lessons and actually like putting them back down to paper.
We always talking about momentum. If Charbonnet had a big game, that shit could switch instantly, just like they did last year when K9 took over for Penny, even though Penny's always fucking hurt. But
yeah, I'm worried we're not getting the full story with Walker, and I'm worried that it might last a lot longer than we actually.
Remember, what was it? Pete Carroll's truth rate is like the worst in the league.
Yeah, Pete Carroll's just straight up a fucking liar all the time. So
straight cap.
Everybody's ready for training camp. Everybody's going to be ready for week 1. Yeah. Gus the Bus Edwards.
Get rid of him.
Sell piece.
I'm going to make a video on it.
We're literally in the middle of making a video.
I'm about to also make my own TikTok out of it. He's coming off of 3 great games, averaging over 20 points. The dude's touchdown reliant. I think the number I pulled, he doesn't have a 10-point game without a touchdown. Pass. Had the 3rd fewest rushing attempts last game. Garbage time or not, the Ravens are going to have another garbage time win. I'm out.
Yeah.
0 receiving upside outside of whatever 80-yard game he had against the Lions.
What do you think? I agree with you. I think he's a sell because I think people, not because anyone thinks he's going to continue doing what he's doing, but I think people have gone into like security mode. He's a safe running back 17 that I could put into my lineup week after week. But like you said, if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's like the RB40 on the week, and he's actually giving you a huge dud. He scored 6 touchdowns in the last 3 games.
That's insane.
His career high in a single season was 6 touchdowns at any point, and he's been in the league for like 7-8 years now. It's obviously, if you look at his game logs, it's like 1, maybe 2, 1, and then zeros. Still the same amount of touches, though.
Yeah.
Same amount of carries, same amount of zero targets.
I'm not denying the fact that he can't get more goal line carries,
Sure.
but that's just not something I want to bank on week to week.
Yeah. Playing devil's advocate could be this year's Jamal Williams, where he doesn't actually have to be that good, but he's on a great scoring offense, where all they got to do is get to the 1 yard line. I also don't, Lamar Jackson's not really scoring a ton of like rushing touchdowns from inside the 1 or 2 yard line.
He'll take something like 10, 15 yards out and try and get around the corner or something.
Oddly enough, though, that's never really been his game. Like, he's not someone where they don't use him like Josh Allen or Jalen Hurts because he's not really built like that. So maybe there's not as much credence to be put into it. But Gus Edwards, it's just the fact that, like, if you don't get a touchdown, it's not like you're getting 16 for 90 on the ground, too. He's not like Josh Jacobs or anything like that.
And you mentioned Jamal. Like, Jamal still had 1,000 yards last year.
Yeah. I mean, he was really good in the beginning of the year. I feel like he started to taper. I feel like he was kind of doing what Gus is doing now. I also think with Baltimore, like, you can't not talk about Keaton Mitchell right now.
No.
He looks so good. And he's going to get a bigger and bigger role.
Well, and that's why he's like definitely so. We just made a good argument, and we didn't even bring up the guy that just had 138 yards behind him.
Mm-hmm.
There's competition in his backfield, and we didn't even need to bring that up to be a reason to get rid of him.
Yeah. Gus might continue scoring a touchdown a game, but like
momentum. The baton's being handed off.
Keaton about to be eaten.
So many rookies this year. I mean, that's how it is every year, but
anyone else we want to touch on?
what about Alexander Madison? No Cam Akers. Josh Dobbs might have a little bit of life.
He's just a hold. I feel like his value, for one way or another, his value has kind of just like stayed the same all year, Like at the end of the year, I almost feel like, okay, we valued him here in September, early September. And when you look at all the value points throughout the year, he's going to be finished
He's
right
going
here.
to be about his draft capital that you spent.
It's like, 20 touches. Guy can't do fucking anything.
yeah.
Quarterback gets hurt. You know what I mean? And
Random
then like
receiving touchdown.
Cam Akers gets hurt. Yeah, so it's like, he's just a guy that I kind of look at like Gus Edwards, realistically. Maybe in a worse offense, but I think he's probably got a little bit more like, I don't want to say upside, but like fun maybe to him. Like, could break out at any point.
Scrappy.
Gus, I feel like, is never going to go for 20 for 125. I mean,
No.
he just did have like a huge fucking game, but you get what I'm trying to say. Madison can be forced into a role where he's a 3-down back.
He's a receiving back now, and Gus, it's just not his game.
Ty Chandler's kind of interesting. He's explosive, but they've kind of shown that they don't want to use him at all.
I think they wouldn't have gotten Cam Akers to begin with.
It's fair. So Madison's going to be fed. Josh Dobbs surprisingly makes this like really fun though too.
Dude, they're 5-4.
No,
That's crazy.
4-game win streak.
I know.
Are they favorites?
I don't know.
Are
They
they
play the
elite?
Saints this week.
Ooh.
That could be another game the Saints just drop.
Ooh.
Like, they kept the Bears in the game forever. I'm
Damn.
excited.
I wish I made my Alvin Kamara video this previous week. That would have hit. That would have been nice.
No, it wouldn't have hit. It would have been right, but it wouldn't have hit. It wouldn't have done well.
Oh, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I'd rather do well than be right.
Yeah.
Any quarterbacks for
Zach
Superflex?
Moss?
You want to talk about the GOAT? He's not on the list because everyone knows not to
We
trade
can
him.
drop him.
Guts #1 drop on the week. How fucking disrespectful of you.
Would you seriously try and buy him right now?
I don't know what their schedule is like. I don't know if I'd necessarily buy him, but like he's still someone I want to hold on to. This week was obviously the biggest argument against what Zach Moss was going to become.
I can't believe I waved my white flag.
You wavered.
I cannot believe I caved.
You coward.
I'm so disappointed in myself. He's still probably going to finish the season.
He's going to be like a top 7.
Yeah, because he's like top 5 right now. He's still going to finish top 10, top 12.
I still think I want to hold on. I want to pull up.
But I think you squeeze the lemon. Trade out whatever you can. You're not getting lemonade for Zach Moss, but
yeah, Zach Moss is coming off season lows in everything. There's not a stat I could bring up to back him up right now.
you still argue committee.
Listen, I was right for 6 of the weeks. Can't be right for all of them.
Thank you for watching. Give a like, give us a sub, give us some love. Peace. Goodbye, guys.